But it's good for the economy when people get to keep their own dollars. Why? Because they get to spend those dollars or they invest those dollars, and you know what you want to buy better than the federal government knows what you want to buy. Now, the left has lost their mind over the tax cut, obviously. They just can't deal with it. And it's really interesting because it sort of betrays what they actually think of America and what they think of your capacity to keep your own money. So Elizabeth Warren, for example, she has an interesting take. Her basic notion here is the reason corporations are now giving bonuses and raises is because they're trying to propagandize to their workers, not because they actually like their workers or help their workers. They have nefarious motives. All of the corporations are essentially evil. In the end, they'll just use that money to line their own pockets and give themselves big bonuses. That's what they'll do. They're cruel and plutocratic. Here's Elizabeth Warren sending a few smoke signals of her own.
I want to be absolutely clear. I am delighted when workers get more money. I'm glad when it happens at any corporation in America. Yay. But let's be really clear. If these corporations had wanted to do that, they already had plenty of profits to do it. The idea that this is trickle-down economics at work rather than just plain old politics is just wrong. The corporate CEOs have already told us what they're going to do with this money. I'll give you an example. Home Depot, right after the Senate passed the tax bill a couple of weeks ago, Home Depot CEO executive is interviewed and said, so what are you going to do with all of this money that Home Depot has? Because they're going to do really well on this. Was it we're going to raise wages for our employees? No. Was it we're going to hire more employees at the Home Depot stores? No. Was it we're going to build more Home Depots across America? No. They said what we're going to do is we're going to do stock buybacks. In other words, we're going to use whatever money comes in to pump up the price of our stock.
Okay, so what's hilarious about this is, number one, the Democrats were claiming for years that the stock market growth of the Obama administration was clearly a reflection of his underlying solid economy, except the job growth didn't keep up because the stocks were actually stock buybacks, right? Now she's ripping stock buybacks. Stock buybacks are terrible. But the idea here is that corporations are nefarious. They're profit-seeking. Isn't that awful? Now, it's hilarious that the same folks who think that corporations are profit-seeking and evil. Number one, I don't know if they've ever met anyone who runs a corporation, okay? I help run a corporation, right? I, along with my executive team, the people I work with, the president of the company and the CEO of the company, we run the company together. We actually do care about our employees. If you went to our Christmas party yesterday, the only employee who got a bad gift at our Christmas party was Michael Knowles because he's a bad employee. Right? He got coal that I gave him for Christmas. But aside from that, it was in a Tiffany's box, so I guess it was nice a little bit. And one day, if Michael really puts himself under pressure, that coal will become a diamond. It was actually it was me exhorting him to work. But everybody at the company is relatively happy because we are interested in keeping them employed. And if they are good at their jobs, we give them raises. And if they are good at their jobs, we retain them. And if they're bad at their jobs, we fire them. People don't want to fire people, okay? They actually don't. People are not generally in the business of enjoying firing people. And corporations actually do care about their workers, which is why wages have risen in the United States in terms of what you can buy. They've risen in the United States continuously despite the death of private sector unions. Private sector unions represent something like 3% of the workforce now. They barely exist. All of the unions exist in the public sector where they're unionizing against the government. But in the private sector, people have decided that they're going to have better luck instead of unionizing, just going and talking to their employer about a raise, which is correct. But the idea from the left is precisely the reverse. Corporations are cruel. They hate you. They want to harm you. They want to use you as slave labor. But the government is benevolent. So it's benevolent when the government comes to me and takes a gun out and points it at me and says, give me your money. That's benevolent. But and if the government gives me my own money back, then that's bad. That's bad because, that's redistributing the wealth. But if a corporation is working and giving bonuses and keeping people employed, then somehow they're cruel. Now, here's the thing. I think most people are motivated by self-interest. The difference is that in a capitalist economy, my self-interest does not manifest as anything good for me unless I give something to you. Capitalism turns self-interest into what I've called forced altruism. The point being that I can be as selfish as I want, but if I don't produce a good or service that you like, I'm going to starve. Okay, that's the beauty of the capitalist free market system. Government has no such qualms. Government has no such issues. If government wants to survive, government can't go bankrupt. It will just bankrupt you. It will take all your money, all your children's money. If we're going to talk about caring levels versus corporations versus government, corporations care a hell of a lot more about making sure that you are employed as long as you are doing work for them than the government cares. The government doesn't care at all. The government will just tax the hell out of you if you earn, And they'll give you money if you don't, because the government is interested in your dependency or in sucking money out of your pocket. Those are the only two things the government is interested in on a fiscal level. Either taking your money or turning you into a dependent. Those are the only two things. Government is not interested in boosting you or giving you a hand up. You know, the Democrats will say, we just want to give you a hand out because it's a hand up. And then they promote policies that make sure that people stay in poverty. They pay people to stay off the work lines, right? They want welfare increased so that people don't have to work jobs. This is why you have Nancy Pelosi saying things like, we want to make sure that you are not burdened by job lock. Like that you're not locked into a job you don't want to do. Okay, that fundamental difference between how you view private industry and how you view government undergirds this entire thing.